The story begins in a world very different from ours, yet strangely familiar, a world of wandering tribes, open skies, and gods made of stone. In the city of Ur of the Chaldeans, a prosperous center of culture and trade, lived a man named Abram. He was not a king, not a warrior, not a prophet, just an ordinary man with an extraordinary calling waiting to unfold. Abram lived with his wife Sarai, his father Terah, and his nephew Lot. Life followed predictable rhythms, until one moment changed everything. One day, the voice of the one true God broke into Abram's ordinary life with a command that made no sense by human standards. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. No map, no destination, just a promise. God promised Abram three things that would shape history: a great nation, a great name, and a blessing that would reach all the families of the earth. For a man with no children and an aging wife, this promise sounded impossible. Yet Abram did something radical, he believed. And so, Abram packed his tents, gathered his household, and stepped into the unknown. Faith was no longer an idea. It became a journey. Abram traveled through Canaan, a land already occupied by powerful peoples. When he arrived, God appeared again and promised, "To your offspring I will give this land." Abram responded not with fear, but with worship. He built altars wherever he went, physical reminders that his life now revolved around God's promise. But faith did not mean perfection. A severe famine struck the land, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt. Fear crept in, afraid that the Egyptians would kill him because of Sarai's beauty. Abram asked her to say she was his sister. The plan protected Abram, but endangered Sarai. God intervened, exposing the truth and preserving Sarai's safety. Abram left Egypt wealthier but humbled, reminded that faith must trust God even when afraid. Back in Canaan, Abram's wealth created tension with his nephew Lot. Their herds grew too large for the land to sustain both. Abram made a surprising choice. Though older and entitled to choose first, he gave Lot the option. Lot chose the fertile plains near Sodom, while Abram remained in the hill country. God then reaffirmed his promise. Abram's descendants would be as countless as the dust of the earth. Yet years passed, still no child. When Lot was later captured during a regional war, Abram transformed from shepherd to warrior. With a small group of trained men, he launched a daring night rescue and defeated powerful kings. On his return, Abram was met by Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of God Most High. Melchizedek blessed Abram, and Abram gave him a tenth of everything, an early picture of worship, humility, and acknowledgement that victory comes from God. That night, God spoke again. Abram confessed his deepest fear. "What can you give me, since I remain childless?" God led him outside, pointed to the stars, and said, "So shall your offspring be." Abram believed God, and God counted it to him as righteousness. This moment became a cornerstone of biblical faith, salvation by trust, not by works. God then made a covenant with Abram, sealing his promise in a dramatic ritual. God alone passed between the sacrifices, symbolizing that the promise depended not on Abram's strength, but on God's faithfulness. Still, the waiting continued. Sarai, weary of hope deferred, suggested a human solution. Abram had a child with Sarai's servant Hagar, and Ishmael was born. But this shortcut brought pain, jealousy, and division. God remained faithful, but clarified that Ishmael was not the child of promise. When Abram was 99 years old, God appeared again, this time changing everything. Abram became Abraham, meaning father of many nations. Sarai became Sarah, meaning princess. God introduced the covenant of circumcision, marking Abraham's family as set apart. Then came the laughter. God promised that Sarah herself would bear a son. Sarah laughed not out of joy, but disbelief. She was old. Her body had long passed the age of childbearing. But God responded with a question that echoes through history. Is anything too hard for the Lord? In time, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, whose name means laughter. Joy replaced doubt. Promise replaced waiting. But faith would be tested one final time. God asked Abraham to do the unthinkable, to offer Isaac as a sacrifice, the son of promise, the future, the miracle child. Abraham obeyed. He climbed Mount Moriah, carrying wood, fire, and a heart heavy with trust. When Isaac asked, "Where is the lamb?" Abraham replied, "God will provide." At the final moment, God stopped Abraham's hand. A ram appeared, caught in the thicket. Isaac was spared. Abraham named the place, "The Lord will provide." This act did not prove Abraham's love for God. It revealed his trust that God's promises could not fail, even beyond death. God reaffirmed the covenant one last time. Abraham's descendants would be as numerous as the stars, and through his seed, all nations would be blessed. Abraham lived a full life, witnessing the beginning of promises that would echo through generations. He died at 175 years old, and was buried beside Sarah, the woman who laughed, doubted, and ultimately believed. Abraham's story is not about perfection, it is about faith in motion. A man who stumbled, feared, questioned, and failed at times, but kept walking forward when God called. He is remembered not because he was flawless, but because he trusted God enough to leave everything behind, and that faith still speaks today.
Please do like, share and subscribe for more videos.